Hello, I am Eric Kane,
I'm Paul Tassi.
and we are back after skipping a week for Thanksgiving. We're back to talk about our favorite show, The Walking Dead, and both the most recent episode and the revelation that Abraham will not be the crossover character with Fear the Walking Dead.
Defying the odds and making me look stupid for saying he was for months.
Well, it made a lot of sense. I mean, they're filming in Texas. He's from Texas. Like the timelines and the geography line up perfectly.
He's not actively on the show.
Right. And he could then, be written off that show in an elegant way that made sense. And I would get to see Abraham again. I was never a big Abraham fan, but a lot of people were, and it would just make a lot of sense.
He got
Instead,
better
we get
in
Morgan.
time. But yes, now we have Morgan, which makes quite literally no sense for every reason.
I can't understand if they're planning on having him like go from like the Georgia area to Texas like back in time before he showed back up, or if they're going to fast forward the timeline for Fear the Walking Dead like 2 years.
That would make
What?
the most sense, but like I kind of hope that that's the answer because it would mean that he's not necessarily getting killed off The Walking Dead. And if that's not the case, they had to have just spoiled their own show. Because that was such a weird Talking Dead because you could kind of tell that Morgan or Lenny James was saying more than he should about kind of like tearful goodbyes to the cast and like he's gonna miss the show and everyone's like, oh, like this story's not over yet, like da da da, and it really seemed that you were kind of dancing around it when he was just like, yep, I'm leaving, going to the other show.
Yeah,
Which was
I didn't watch that because
bizarre.
I refuse
I just
to
watched
watch
those
the
parts,
Talking
but
Dead.
it was very, the whole thing was very uncomfortable, and it's hard to see a way unless there is a giant time jump in Fear the Walking Dead, which I'm not sure I would be a fan of. He has to be getting killed off, and like I thought he was going to get killed off from kind of the start of the season. Like if there was a major character to die, it would probably be him.
Yeah.
But I was not anticipating this. And I was not anticipating AMC potentially spoiling that death outright by making a big
Yeah.
celebration out of this character's leaving the show, who is currently on the show.
I think that they
That's-
just realized that if he's going to be filming in with the other Fear the Walking Dead people, that it was going to become an open secret pretty fast. There's so many people like spying on that.
Yeah, no, I get like
Yeah.
why they did it conceptually, but because it was a current character, like if it was Abraham, this wouldn't be controversial at all because he's been killed off already, like it makes sense, like, but because it's a character that's still a pretty key character in this current season, you at least assume he's gonna die now. Like maybe there's some trickery where he just wanders away or something, but boy,
Yeah, I don't
does
get
this
it.
seem weird.
It's the strangest. Of all the characters, this is maybe the most surprising. I mean, like even if they'd said it was Glenn or something, I don't know. I
Yeah,
maybe
Glenn the
less
runner, he ran to
surprised.
Texas, and
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to sort of pin down the timeline because the chronology is so weird. But I mean, how old is Judith at this point? Like 2?
I'd say like between 2 and 3. Supposedly, For the Walking Dead is like 18 to 24 months behind, so not like that far. But
Yeah.
again, the Morgan timeline's so weird because we have seen so much of his backstory.
Yeah.
Like when Rick met him, then he went crazy, then he got uncrazy in another flashback, and then he joined the cast in like season 5. So it has to be the time between when Rick saw him and then when he was in the house being crazy. So he might have his
So he
son
was
with
crazy.
him.
No, when Rick saw him, wasn't he already going crazy, and his son was dead?
That was,
The
the second
second
time, yeah. So Clear, which was in season 3. So I'm
So it has to be
saying that would be
between
the
season
end
1 and
point. It
season
would
3.
be before Clear. So
Okay.
maybe his son is still alive, and maybe he's not fully crazy yet. Because if it's just crazy Morgan the whole time, that's going to be really annoying.
So would they have to like recast his son or something?
I would
'Cause he'd have
imagine
to
so,
be a
yes.
younger. Yeah. What a mess.
But it really makes no sense without a time jump, and I'm not even sure if I like a time jump from, Fear the Walking Dead's perspective, and that seems pretty unlikely to me. But although it would take a decently long time to get from wherever they are now in like Mexico or to Houston, like that's pretty far. So I could see that
Yeah,
taking a year and a year and a half to get to. So maybe that's the answer. I don't know. And this is totally new showrunners, so
yeah,
it's
scary.
it's yeah, it's very confusing to say the least. But I don't
I
think
love
AMC
how
handled this particularly well, regardless.
no, no. I love how they're like, hey, we just had our best season of the show ever. Let's change everyone who's working on it.
Yeah,
Where,
that was strange.
whereas in Walking Dead, it's like we're having, you know, our worst couple of seasons ever. Let's just keep going with things. Let's actually take the guy in charge of this show and put him in charge of the other show
Yeah,
too.
why not? Sure.
It's really, really making so much sense. I don't know. It's I guess we'll see. There's only so much we can speculate. I'm gonna go with the time jump because I just can't imagine them stuffing in Morgan's story. He can't teleport across the country like that. It doesn't make any sense. But the time jump they've done one already in Fear the Walking Dead. They did it right at the beginning. They showed the apocalypse for like a couple episodes, then they time jumped several weeks into the future.
How far did they time jump? I mean, yeah, it wasn't like super far, but
It was far enough to miss the whole premise of what the show was supposed to be, which was to see what was going on during the,
yes, I suppose it was.
so like this wouldn't really surprise me too much. Um,
Yeah,
y-
I can agree
yeah,
with that. And well, but we are approaching what may be a time jump with The Walking Dead also.
yeah,
That's being teased. That hasn't really been teased since the first episode, but that seems like it could also be in the cards. So then that would keep making Fear the Walking Dead pretty far behind, I would imagine,
yeah.
unless they time jump like 5 years.
Do you
But
know
I
what I
don't know.
really hope
What do
happens
you think
in
would happen?
season
What?
season 4 of The Walking Dead? I hope it opens up to Madison making a motivational speech.
Yes.
And
Maybe with
then
an accent?
Nick making a motivational speech, and then Strand making a motivational speech,
I
and
feel
then
like
like
we've
artsy cuts between the motivational speeches.
I feel like we've maybe hit peak motivational speech and they're starting to decrease now a little bit. So,
Okay, in this last episode, though, the letters that they wrote to each other, which was just
yeah.
weird. How are they sending letters? Like by
like
Raven or some shit?
Civil War, like writing back home letters, like
Yeah.
the
Dear
battle's
mom.
hard, but we're sticking with it. I could only see you again, my darling Clementine. Like,
Yeah, and like how are they getting them to like Rick? He's all by himself, like
I
wandering
just
around.
wanted to
And
see
he's
like
like, I got the
like
letter.
pigeon army just like flying around delivering letters.
They strap him to zombies, then like send the zombies out, and they're like they have like a
My
message in a
favorite.
bottle.
Okay, so I guess we're getting into this episode now. My favorite was
Yeah.
Rick's plan with the trash people, which
Oh.
I first of all, I don't know why on earth you would even try to like make another deal with the trash people after that. Where he's just like, I don't know, you killed
Seriously.
some of our people, we killed some of your people, like call it even. Like literally, you also did that with the saviors, and you're still at war with
Yeah.
them. But then I love how his like grand plan to like prove Negan was down on the ropes was to take those photos and
I
be like,
know.
look, here's a nondescript building surrounded by walkers, and here's like the corner of Negan's jacket in hiding behind a car. Like, see, the war is over. It's like if the war was over, why would he be there?
Yeah, there are just moments in this show that defy all reason and all sensible narrative decision making. I don't even know how to. I cannot picture what their writers' room must look like as they're all sitting down to plan this stuff out, and they're like, "Here's this great idea. We're gonna have him go and try to recruit the people who betrayed him at the end of last season. The last time he saw them, they were trying to kill him.
Well,
What?
also in contrast, like if Negan made a deal with these dudes, and I assume there was some sort of longer term plan than like betray Rick at this one meeting, and now they're just sitting around making like metal sculptures. Like, shouldn't they still be like on Negan's side, like trying to help Negan or like trying to fight?
Yeah,
Was it literally just a one time deal?
I
And
guess.
I don't.
Well, they had to get back to the up, so that they could
Yes,
walk around in
I think this
their
whole thing was literally
aprons.
to just an excuse to put Rick in another container and put an A on it, just
Yes, I think you're
to
right.
keep going with that motif. I okay, so things I like. I like the Carl Sadiq stuff. Sadiq is a
Mostly.
comic. Sadiq is a comic character who, in the comics, he's been around for so long. I could not remember where he even came from, or
Yeah.
like why he existed. So I don't know if this is how he came in the comics. I have to reread them. But I thought these scenes were good. I thought it was good of Carl kind of stepping up and being his own like mini Rick and being a leader and kind of going against what his
Mini Rick.
father would want.
Yeah.
Not that the show needs more characters at this point. Lord knows we
It
have too
it
many, but
it
I thought
does
this was a
need
good
good
scene.
characters though.
Yeah, yeah,
And it doesn't have many right now. It has a lot of characters, but I have to say a lot of them are really on my nerves all the time. Like, you know, Rick can be a little too much even these days. He's just and a lot of the characters just kind of grate on me, and I liked Sadiq. I thought that the actor they picked did a really good job just in that one small moment that they had. But I'm kind of like looking for a new Glenn, you know, like we
yeah.
need somebody that we like. We need likable people, and they're hard to come by right now. So I'm hoping, and
Yeah,
I
I
don't
would
know.
easily trade, like, if Sadiq is as interesting as he appears to be, I would trade him for Gabriel in like a heartbeat. Like, I don't care,
Oh
just kill
yeah,
Gabriel. Just
kill Gabriel
some
and Eugene.
put some new people on fresh legs on the ice or whatever. Like,
Yeah, no, I think that would help a lot with this show, honestly, if
yeah.
we got new characters that were likable and that we cared about and who had good actors that weren't annoying. And so what else? What else did you like?
Um, I'm trying to think of what else.
I thought Melissa McBride did a good job this episode.
Her scene
Carol,
with Kari Payton or whatever his name is was really good, and how
except
he
for
is kind
one
of out of
thing.
king mode fully. And I really see the relationship developing in a way
Yeah.
that makes sense, and like when they do inevitably kind of end up together, that is going to make like feel good and be like, yes, this was a well cultivated
Yeah.
relationship that they had. I like the
And
stuff with Jerry, how Jerry was kind of just doing his old guard duty, even though like Ezekiel isn't pretending to be king anymore. I
yeah, I like
assume
Jerry.
that Ezekiel will resume the king persona when he's kind of out of his funk. But
If
yeah,
he
that
says,
whole
"And
thing was
yet
good.
I smile" one more time,
I,
I will fucking throw my TV across the room.
hopefully we're done with that line, but
I don't know. I thought we were done with that line 3 episodes ago, but it just keeps coming back.
yeah. To be fair, he
I,
was kind of like making fun of himself saying that
yes,
this
but
time.
it's too little, too late for that. You can't keep saying the damn thing and then say it again and make it like oh, it was so on the nose.
What else happened? Oh, I thought the stuff at the hilltop was kind of interesting, where it's like, okay, I love Jesus feeding people like loaves of bread. That was great.
Yeah.
But it is like a real logistic, or no, it was like turnips. It wasn't bread. But it is a real logistical concern. Like, hey, we have 40 savior prisoners. Like, what the hell are we gonna do with them? And like, I agree that it is a very complex issue of like, okay, do we literally just mass execute like 40 dudes, or can we solve this problem some other way? That's like a legitimately interesting kind of problem to take on. And so I'm curious to see how they resolve that. And I love just throwing Gregory in the pen with them. That was
Yeah,
hilarious.
that was good.
I'm
He's
curious
such
about
a
this
prick.
this one savior dude who's like the good savior dude as
Yeah.
opposed to the evil savior dude. And like, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But
I think that one thing that I agree with you that that's an interesting conflict, and it is really truly something that would be hard to know what to do. You know, because it's not like even the saviors just went and killed everyone when they took them prisoner. Like that's a really horrible thing that to do, right?
yeah.
And you know, even Negan was saying, you know, people are our biggest resource, and you can't just be, you know, we're gonna kill all these guys that surrendered. No, I'm with Jesus on this one, but yeah, you have to feed them. Then you have to watch them. You have to do all this stuff. One thing that I think that the show sort of shot itself in the foot a little bit, though, is you know Maggie making a big deal over some turnips when there's literally never a shortage of gas or bullets or any of these other things. Like
They're not good with resource management. It's like there's only a shortage when it suits them for the plot. They don't
yeah,
really set that up.
like I really think that if they want to improve the show, like that's one thing. Scarcity is a big deal in a post-apocalyptic setting. You know, that's one of the things, you know, we think about. Like, you know, some people like in Fear the Walking Dead set up a whole ranch to prepare for that outcome, you know, with supplies
yeah.
because the fact is, like, these things, once they're not being produced anymore, they go away. And you know, at least turnips you can grow, but gas, I mean, by this point in the show, none of that gas would even work in a car.
Yeah.
It would have degraded too much. And bullets, they don't just grow on trees. And I think the show needs to like take that into account and be
Wasn't
a little
Eugene
more
supposed to be making
responsible.
bullets or something? But I don't.
I,
I haven't seen him
I don't know.
actually do that.
He
But
just carries pickles around.
Yeah, he's
and talks weird.
pickle supplier.
I think his lines are so atrociously bad. The way they make him talk, it's
He's
so
another kind
over
of
the
like
top.
comic issue person where it's like something that might work in a comic just works less well on screen. Like he's too much of a comic book character, like Negan, like
Yeah.
Ezekiel when he's king mode.
I just
Uh,
want some character to be like, "What did you just say? I don't understand half of the things that just came out of your mouth."
yeah.
Like,
Um, what did you think about the? There was a lot. So one thing about this episode is they got around the map a lot. I'll say that.
yeah.
What do you think
I
about
like
the
that.
Rosita Michonne speaker box
Okay,
scene?
so I was thinking about this. I liked that they went out and we got to see some characters we hadn't seen in a while, and the action was good, and it was funny when she blew up the guy, and it was good to see like Michonne kind of weakened. A lot of that stuff worked for me. What I didn't like was how they just sort of had her leave just because she wanted to go see the sanctuary. Like that seemed really
Yeah, that was
forced.
like a
Like,
Lori season 2 decision.
yeah, like all they have to do. See, here's what I don't understand why the show, when you're writing a story, you have to create like conflict and choices, right? So, like, let's say Michonne finds out that Rick's in trouble, so she leaves to go help him. And along the way, she hears this loud music playing. And so she has to choose. Does she keep going to find where Rick is in trouble? Or does she go to see what this loud music is? And there you have conflict and hard choices, and you have a story that makes sense. Instead, it's just like, I have to go see it. It's been a day,
We
a
have
whole
Polaroids for that.
day.
we,
Yeah, you're right, exactly. So why do you? I mean, and it just seems so reckless and stupid, and they just have the characters all doing these reckless,
I
stupid
will
things
say
with
I
no
cracked up
purpose.
when the truck just plowed into the speaker truck.
Yeah,
That was pretty
yeah, that
funny.
was
I
funny.
don't really understand. Were Daryl and Tara just going to like go assassinate Dwight? I don't. That was
I have no
that seemed
idea
like a
what they're.
poor plan given the current state of things.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
really
they are.
understand what they were gonna do, but
It's so hard to tell sometimes because the show just is so it's so sloppy
well,
with
Daryl's all
giving
about like
characters
going off
reasons
book and
and
like not following Rick's plan. Although Rick's plan is stupid because it just got him put in prison by the trash people. So
the plan is working.
the
And
plan
I'm
will.
what fucking plan? The plan to go talk to the up people. It's just so stupid. That the thing I liked the most about the episode is we got to see a lot of different characters, and there were some interesting scenes, some good action, some some clashing over what to do with the prisoners. It was a well-rounded episode, and what I really didn't like about it was that pretty much everybody involved was doing something stupid for no reason.
I would
Whether that
say
was
I'd
Rick or
say I would say
Michonne
everybody.
or
I'd say like some people, but overall, I would say that that was a pretty good episode of balancing a lot of characters at once, which
I
is not
agree.
something the show does very well.
Yeah,
So
no, I was
they did a good job of
pleasantly
it here, I thought.
surprised. I think that that's one reason while I was watching it, I wasn't like harping too much on these stupid decisions because I was generally engaged going back and forth between multiple storylines that were interesting and that we got to see Carl and Sadiq, we got to see Michonne and Rosita, we got to see Rick and Jadis. We got it was a nice, well-rounded episode, and I think that that's what we need more of in general. We don't need just action-packed episodes or just talking episodes. We need episodes where there's a little bit of both, and that we're engaged on different levels.
Question: Was there? Oh, never mind. Okay, I was gonna say I was like, were there any zombies in that episode? And then I remembered Carl and Sadiq killing zombies, but I was like, I thought we
Yeah.
almost got through a whole episode with zero zombies, but they did
No,
have that fight.
I, that was another one of those moments where it's like, don't do it. What are you doing? Of course there's going to be 10 more
I
zombies when you try to
think
kill these ones.
I kind of got that because it was like Carl trying to prove to this dude that
Yeah.
like A, he's a badass, and like B, that he should trust him and come back to the community because he respects his whatever zombie killing philosophy or something. So the
Yeah.
scripting of that was weird. Where like Carl should have gotten bitten like 6 times during
Oh
that
yeah. Well,
exchange.
that's
But
what I don't like
besides
is when they
that,
kind of when they make it like when they make the characters who are seasoned zombie fighters so bad at doing their one simple job,
yeah, like
like
Carl's
it,
gotten a
I,
lot better. I liked the zombie walking with the stick through him.
yeah.
Where he like clearly ran into a trap and was just like, "Well, I'm gonna keep going." I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I always like when they have zombies. I wish the show, would focus on zombies more, and I'm glad that we've gotten a couple episodes recently that do.
Yeah,
We had the scene where they were kind of falling down the hill and then
yeah, that
biting
was
into the
great. I love that
prisoners.
part.
That was cool. The scene where Ezekiel is suddenly faced with all his former people as zombies. That was really
Also
cool.
great. I thought we were going to get a really
And
cool zombie scene this week when all the prisoners were being kept outside the wall, and then that I thought zombies were going to come and they were going to have this big kind of decision to make of like how to defend these
yeah,
prisoners and whether or not the prisoners would like revolt against them and take advantage. And like that would be a way to earn the prisoners' trust. Like, look, we defended you from these zombies we did when we didn't have to. But that didn't happen, so I guess can avoid that. But I thought that would have been a good moment for an interesting zombie scene.
yeah, yeah. That would have been. See, that's another thing where uh, I wish more decisions or more moments in the show were driven by necessity and hard choices rather than just sort of happening.
Yeah,
Similar to like Michonne leaving. I wish that had been, and that would have been a really great moment with the prisoners if they were like, we have to decide, are we going to bring them in the walls, or are we going to fight out here, or what? I want more of that because I think that always makes shows more interesting. I
yeah,
think that you can say that that's what made Fear the Walking Dead so interesting, was that they were constantly in season 3 given these hard choices and conflicting uh, motivations that really drove the show, and I think that that's something that really could work well. I mean, like you talked about with Daryl and Rick. Unfortunately, that resulted in like just a really dumb fist fight. But theoretically, you could have some really great conflicts between the main
I haven't
characters.
given up hope that that might blossom into something bigger, but we'll see.
Yeah. Um, I still think that maybe the worst thing that's ever happened to the show. Oof, I don't know. Negan's way up there, but the trash people are just awful, and I hope that they all die. I don't know what the A on the door means. So I read one theory that she's the actually the leader of the Whisperers.
Yeah,
The what's the
kill
name of
me.
that character? The
Alpha.
Alpha,
That would
and
be
that would
terrible.
mean that would mean that we get them for the next couple of years, basically.
Well, the whole that wouldn't make sense. The whole thing with the Whispers is that they wear like zombie skins, and that's like their thing. And I mean,
Yeah,
they are kind of, I will say, they are kind of minimalist communicators, shall we say? But they are still kind of normal people, like under the zombie skins. Like when you actually like see that, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't think that that's a setup for the Whisperers, honestly.
yeah. I don't think so either.
Um,
But you never know. You know how this show likes to sort of stick to the comics, but also not.
yeah. Well, my favorite theory was that Madison would end up being Alpha.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
would love
Except for then
that.
we'd
I don't
have
think
to
that's
we'd
gonna
have to
happen. And
keep.
Alicia would be her daughter, who would
Can we
have
have
the
Alicia be the instead of
Carl's love
Madison?
interest. Ew, no, that would be ew. Yeah, hard pass on
um, the uh, the problem I have with that is that I just can't stand Madison, and I think
that.
I
That's the
just
problem. I like
she's
Madison
so
more than you.
yeah, but boy, I
But
just don't like her at all,
I just liked her
even as a villain.
utilitarian survivalist philosophy, where everyone's trying to be like, let's do the right thing. Madison's like, I'm just gonna like survive however I
Yeah,
can, always.
I think that's interesting. I just don't like I don't like the actress. I don't
Yeah,
think she does a very good
I guess
job,
that's fair. But
and I really think the actors in that show are good for the most part.
yeah, they are. I
You
still
know,
miss Nick, man. I want Nick
you
back,
miss
or not Nick. What's his face?
Nick. Oh, Troy.
Troy. I miss Troy.
Yes, that was such a mistake to kill off
Ugh.
Troy. They should have left that
It
uncertain.
made
That would have been
sense.
way
That was
better.
one thing where it's like, okay, this guy's betrayed you 8 times. It's time to kill him, and then she did. I'm like, oh, that was actually pretty logical. As much as I hated to see Troy go,
Yeah.
but I just feel like Fear the
Um,
Walking Dead does things less frequently. Where I'm like, that's a stupid decision. Like it just
oh yeah.
lately, at least, it doesn't do that as much as The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I think it's been much more consistent. I also think there's other things about the show that now that I'm like watching The Walking Dead again, and I think that just the cinematography and whatnot is better. I
It's
feel like
just, oh yeah, for sure. It's just a
you know,
it's just a more well-made show all around.
yeah. I mean, and that's that goes beyond just like, well, they don't have to follow the comics. They don't, they're not tied down by this or that. They actually literally are filming it better.
Yeah, no,
You know?
that's true. One thing I've so you've mentioned this before about how people like get mad at you and you say you like Fear the Walking Dead, but it's like I was looking at kind of the Instagram comments because as soon as this happened, they put Morgan joins Fear the Walking Dead like all over like Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and it's just like pages and pages of people being like, no, like Fear the Walking Dead sucks. Like why would you take a fan favorite character and put him on that show? And like it's so weird, like how much like diehard Walking Dead fans like hate Fear the Walking Dead and like
Yeah.
that makes it seem like to me they haven't watched it since season 1 maybe like or something and they just gave up because it wasn't good back then or
Mm-hmm.
they just really like the style of The Walking Dead more, and they're so attached to those characters after 7 years that they won't even give the new show a chance. So that struck me as so weird.
That is
It's
interesting.
like
I
of all the
saw.
problems with this Morgan decision, it's not him coming to Fear the Walking Dead is like a bad show. Is what's wrong with that decision?
I think like I think the community is maybe more mixed on this than I think it's split among people. A lot of people who did, just like you said, didn't keep watching, and then people who did watch season 3 and were like, "Wow, this is actually really good." I
Yeah.
saw a Reddit post on the Walking Dead Reddit subreddit, where someone was basically saying, "Why is Fear so much better than Walking Dead right now?" Which is, you don't
Wow,
see
that got
that.
upvotes. I'm amazed.
It did. I got a lot. Actually, a lot of people were talking about the many reasons why, and then there were some people who would get on and say no, it's trash, and people would respond, "Have you probably haven't seen season 3 yet?"
Yeah.
So I think there is a group of fans that has certainly
It still does. I
watched it
mean, it's
and liked
decently
it.
rated. It's got
Yeah.
more ratings than anything else on AMC besides Walking Dead. So someone's watching it.
Do you think this will drive more viewers now that Morgan's going over there? Do you think there's enough
Yeah.
Morgan fans, or
No, not. I
yeah?
don't
I mean,
think
he's not
so.
super popular
He's
in the
fine, and like
community.
Lenny James is probably one of the better actors on The Walking Dead, like
Definitely.
by far. But I don't think it's gonna drive a bunch of viewers. I think Abraham would have. I think Abraham would have driven more than Morgan, honestly.
Well, sure, because
Um,
he's killed off.
right,
So
yeah, and I mean, well, I guess Morgan will be too, but I don't know if people are gonna be like, man, I really miss that Morgan. Like, I just don't think
yeah.
he's had these brief glimpses where it's like, yeah, Morgan's awesome, Morgan's a badass, but then he alternates between these like wildly irritating personas between like super crazy Morgan, which is where he is now, and where he was before, and then like Zen monk, no
Yeah.
compromise for any reason Morgan, which is
I don't
also
know.
not great.
Yeah, one extreme to the other.
Yeah,
A thought just occurred to me. Wouldn't it have been something if out onto the stage of the Talking Dead, Andrea stepped,
I'd be down
and
with
Andrea
that.
was the crossover character?
Honestly, that wouldn't like be the crazy. It would be less crazy than Morgan, I think, but
Yeah, it'd just be
and they could
funny.
redeem Andrea and make her like actually good again, but
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't think
I
that's
think
even
she's
physically
ruined.
possible because of the timelines and how quickly she
Yeah.
died. But
What if it was Morales?
honestly, sure, go for it. At least that
They're
would make
like,
sense
wait,
because he's like,
we're
oh, he
gonna
went
kill him in the first
somewhere else.
episode
Yeah.
now. Oh God. Well, I guess I haven't even watched the previews for next week, but I'm sure more
I don't
trash
think I did
people.
either. Yeah.
Rick will. Do you think this is part of the? Do you think he was intending to become captured? Is this part
I
of an
mean,
elaborate scheme? Like
maybe like I mean, he told like everyone knows he went there, so they're gonna go get him. I
now they
don't
have
know
to
if they
fight
have
another
like
battle.
if they're gonna like use some sort of technology magic to like convince the primitives to help them or something. Like look, fire from the sky. Like I don't know, but
Yeah, it's weird because if that's the case, if it's part of a larger plan, and now all of Rick's people have to go save him, that they're doing that now instead of fighting Negan. So that seems dumb.
yeah.
I don't
Well, I
know.
feel like the outposts are kind of either exhausted, like they're all the people there are dead, or they've fled. So I don't really know what
Yeah.
else there is to be doing out in the wild besides setting more traps. Like I don't. I feel like the war is kind of won. Like I don't really even no, like there's no one that Negan can really have to mount an assault. Like they intercepted the speaker thing, they intercepted the LMGs.
Yep.
They're still surrounded by zombies. Like Negan's still in a trailer. Like I don't.
No, no, Negan's inside the building now.
Oh right, he got it out. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's
But
still
like
stuck in the building.
they have no way of clearing this. Like it's just it's over. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing some giant savior army somewhere else that I'm not aware of, I don't get why this is still really a contest. Like I guess you could say it only ends when Negan dies or when Negan and his lieutenant dies, but like literally they if they really wanted to end it, they could just blow open the doors and let all the zombies in and kill everybody, I guess, but
Yeah.
maybe they're trying to avoid that. I don't know, but but again, if this whole thing ends with Negan dying, they could have just sniped him in the first
Yeah.
place. So
I know. They
I
have those
can't get into
snipers
that again.
everywhere.
But
The yeah, the do you and are we like 99.9% sure that those prisoners at the hilltop are going to escape and cause some serious trouble?
Yes, my theory is that like some of them will do an uprising, and then maybe some of them will push back against the uprising, and like join the hilltop and be like, "Yo, let's not do this." Like the good, like
Yeah.
maybe the good one or something, or the good one could be like a sneaky spy and like earn Maggie's trust and then like betray her and then take over the hilltop or something.
Yeah.
Um, Clearly
Gregory's
they're
not
not
going to
just gonna like
survive.
sit there in contentment for the next 12
Right.
episodes or something. So something's gonna happen. It's just a matter of how interesting or predictable it will be.
And yeah, Gregory's definitely going to die before the season's out, I think. I just don't imagine
I don't
he
know.
lives.
Maybe. Yeah.
You,
I'm not.
you think not?
I. It's possible. I'm not basing
I
this
mean,
on
I
the
know
comic book.
there's
I
the
don't know. We'll
comics.
see.
Yeah, the comics may change it, but they do change things from comics,
Yeah, they
so I don't
do.
know.
He seems on track to die. I wouldn't mind if he kind of survived as kind of the new Father Gabriel when in like sniveling coward mode. I just like when
Yeah.
Jesus is like, yeah, he's in there. He's sucking up to the saviors now. I thought that was
Oh
funny.
yeah. You know,
But just like,
okay, that reminds me of that scene where they're all talking. That they're really doing the character of Aaron a terrible disservice, I feel like, because he's just sitting there talking, and he says, "There are still moments when I think he's alive," and we're talking about someone who died hours ago. What? Of course you're. Why is he not just like totally distraught or
I don't know. They're trying with
what?
Aaron. I think they'll do him a solid eventually, but they've struggled a little bit.
If your wife had died several hours ago, would you be like, I still feel like she might? No, you'd be in total full on grief mode. You would there wouldn't be moments. The whole time you'd
Yeah.
be like, that's something you
I
say
will
like
say he
months
does
down the
look
line.
pretty broken up still and kind of shell shocked. So
Yeah, I just don't like
that's
how they're
okay.
doing it. It's just poorly done. Just
Yeah.
another one of those things. Maggie's kind of I don't what okay, one more thing before we close out on this. I don't like how everyone's kind of like moved off into their separate communities. Like why what I don't really understand why Maggie is like Hilltop still and like why Carol is the king. Carol I get a little cuz she's like wants to jump Ezekiel's bones, but Maggie like she's friends with Rick and them. That's her people. Like not Hilltop.
But like, I mean, I will say it wasn't been terribly interesting, but they have kind of ingrained Maggie into the hilltop for
Only
a
for one
long,
reason.
a long time now.
Only to hide her from Negan, and now they know that Negan's, Negan knows she's alive and
But I
everything.
but like the thing is like Rick can't run everything, so it's better to have like a Rick lieutenant essentially. Like I mean, Maggie is essentially Rick's lieutenant, whether they're supposed to be equals or not. It's better to have
Yeah.
her running the hilltop than Gregory or even like Jesus or something like
I mean,
because he
Jesus seems
knows.
like a good contender.
Yeah, but like Rick knows her, so to install her, and then she did kind of go out of her way to help save the hilltop from the saviors during that one sequence where they like I think they let a bunch of walkers in or something, and there was a fire. I don't remember,
That sequence, oh my god.
but the point is like I think they have been setting this up for a while. I don't know if it's the most interesting development, but like I get why the hilltop likes Maggie and would
Yeah.
follow her over Gregory because like Gregory's the
It,
worst, and like everybody knows Gregory's the worst. So I don't. The
right.
problem with the
I
Gregory
don't.
plotline is like nobody takes him seriously, so he never feels like a real threat.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it just they're breaking up the band in a certain way that's sort of weird, and I don't know what
Well,
ultimate
that's the whole
surface
community thing, and
purpose.
like I'm not the biggest fan of just the whole community thing. Like now we're just gonna be here indefinitely in these 3 or 4 or 5 communities. I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of the long. Like I guess maybe you can't have a apocalypse show where people just wander forever, and like you do want to start rebuilding society. And like maybe Rick is for the first president of the new United States or something like in 20 years
Yeah.
or something. But it does
President.
if you just stay in the same areas for a long time, it'll get a little dull, and the comics are getting a little dull. So
Yeah.
we'll see how they handle that. But
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess we'll see. And we have two more episodes of
I
until the
don't know when
mid-season
I don't know when
finale.
break is. I think it's 2 or 3.
Yeah. So and then we have a break, and I mean, I guess this whole thing. Do you think it lasts until the break, or do you think it lasts the whole season? The war against
The
Negan.
war has to last all season.
Okay. That's depressing.
The question was whether it was going to last more than that, like they did with the Governor War. They just kept dragging it out for like 2 years. I think they're done. I think the Negan war at least is over. Whether Negan himself is over is another matter. But I definitely think this war ends by the last half of the season. I don't think it ends in 3 episodes for sure, even though it seems like it could. I don't. Negan will formulate some sort of big counterattack, and Morgan will die, and like, and then there'll be some final conflict, and whoever wins wins. And I assume it won't be Negan, as you might imagine, but we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think that's at least 11 more episodes of content rather than like 3. So.
All right. Well, I guess we have that to look forward to then.
Yep.
All right. Yep. So we'll be back next week with more Walking Dead. Also, be sure to check out our other podcast, which we're doing at Forbes, the Overworld podcast. We'll link to that. And we have a segment on there every week in the back half of that show. So thanks for listening. Peace.
See ya.